Hello and welcome to Intro to Chem Lecture G, Dimensional Analysis. Dimensional analysis sounds kind of scary, but it's also called factor label. I prefer to use the factor label name for it because it's exactly what we're going to do mathematically. We're going to create conversion factors, and we're going to leave their labels on them. I know you don't usually like to write out the words. You like to write down as little of your math work as possible, but I'm going to ask you to leave the labels on because we're going to treat those words just like they're numbers. So let me show you what I mean. Some really hard algebra concepts we need to review first. So 1 divided by 1 is 1. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 623 divided by 623 is, yeah, you guessed it, 1. Okay, it also works for elephants. Elephant divided by elephant equals 1. They'll cancel. So think of this in terms of science. If I have liters and I divide that by liters, liters divided by liters will cancel, and that equals 1. Okay, so that's the first really hard algebra concept you need to remember from way back in the day. Okay, here's the next one. 1 times 1 equals 1. 5 times 1 equals 5. 623 times 1 equals 623. Elephants times 1 is going to equal, elephant. So the math concept here was anything times 1 is itself. So what I mean by conversion factors, I'm going to scroll this to the other side so I've got some work room over here. So we'll hide the elephants. Inches to centimeters. Here's our relationship. For every 1 inch, I need 2.54 centimeters. Every 1 inch equals 2.54 centimeters. These are essentially the exact same measurement. So if 1 inch equals 2.54 centimeters, they mean the same length. So if they're the same thing, just different names, 1 inch divided by 2.54 centimeters, I'm taking a distance and dividing it by itself, that's going to equal 1. 2.54 centimeters then divided by 1 inch, again, I'm taking a distance and dividing it by itself, that's also going to equal 1. So since anything divided by itself equals 1, we have two different conversion factors. So if I have an object and it's 4 inches long and I want to know how many centimeters that is, I start with my 4 inches. I'm going to multiply. We're not doing proportions. We're going to be multiplying in the factor label method. And I look at my relationship and I say, well, I want the inches to cancel. So whatever I'm trying to cancel goes on the bottom. My relationship says 1 inch. I put the 1 inch on the bottom. It says that's equal to 2.54 centimeters. I put my 2.54 centimeters at the top. Inches are going to cancel. And now I just have to do the math. So I'm going to pull up my calculator. 10.16. So 10.16, and the units I have left are centimeters. One of the mistakes I see students make, you're doing so many proportions right now in your math, you automatically want to make this a proportion. You want to put a line here and put a 1, and then you end up cross multiplying. That's not a proportion. It's not an equal sign. You're just multiplying. You're multiplying fractions. You multiply straight across the top. So you have 4 the inch canceled, so it's gone, times 2.54 times centimeters. When you look at the bottom, 1 is all that's left at the bottom. That's where we get our 10.16 centimeters. All right, we can do other conversions. So let's scroll down here and look at the English measuring system. We have some really interesting ones here. So inches to hands, feet to yards, yards to rods. So we have lots of different inches into links. So we have lots of different conversion factors that we can find here. So let's stick to something a little simpler. Let's look at inches to hands. So if any of you like horses, we measure horses in hands. So if they say a horse stands 12 hands high and they're measuring at his shoulder, how many inches is it from the ground up to that shoulder, the back of the horse? So we have hands and we have this factor. So we know that there's 4 inches in every one hand. So our starting point is the 12 hands. We're going to make a conversion factor. We want the hands to cancel. So when we make our factor, we have 2 choices. We can put the 1 hand on the top per every 4 inches, or we can say there are 4 inches per every 1 hand. And I need to know which one to pick because both of these equals 1, right? That's the same thing, so that's 1 and that's 1. So the one that I want to pick is the one where hands are on the bottom. If I put the 1 hand on the bottom and the 4 inches at the top, then the hands are going to cancel. Hands divided by hands cancel. Because remember, we're multiplying here. Pretend this line goes all the way across the whole thing. So you just have 12 hands times 4 inches over 1 hand. The hands cancel. I have 12 times 4. That's 48 inches. How many feet is that? Well, you already know this one in your head, and you already know that in order to turn inches into feet, you're going to divide by 12. The reason that works is because every 1 foot equals 12 inches, and then our inches cancel, and what you end up with is 48 times 1 foot over 12, because notice the inches canceled. So 48 divided by 12 gives me 4 feet. Now, if you want more help with dimensional analysis, how that works, if my explanation didn't work really great, try Khan Academy. It's going to be in the math section. If you just search dimensional analysis or unit conversions, you're going to find some videos from Sal Khan on how to do that. Okay. You can also search YouTube itself. Search dimensional analysis, and you're going to get a lot of different teachers showing the same work. Okay, I want to take just one last minute here and show you how this applies to chemistry. So if you look at reference table S again, there are going to be a number of pieces of information in chemistry. When we look at them, they're already factors. They're already conversion factors. So if we just look at an example, and I'm just going to take lithium here towards the top of the chart, and we highlight lithium's data. When you look at the units up at the top, ionization energy and density are already conversion factors. Do you see that backslash? Backslash means per. So if I look at lithium's information for first ionization energy, when I read this, it says 520 kilojoules per mole of lithium. It's already a conversion factor. Okay? So if I want to know, if I say It took 1,500 kilojoules of energy to remove electrons using the first ionization energy. How many moles of lithium were there? We just do factor labels. So we start with our 1,500 kilojoules. We look at this factor up here and say, oh, I want kilojoules to cancel. So when I set up my factor, I'm going to put my 520 kilojoules on the bottom and my 1 mole at the top. That's it for Intro to Chem. On to Unit 1.